So this is the video for 4.1 to 4.5 quiz corrections. If you weren't here Friday, it's a good thing to watch this. You don't have to do a corrections form, but it's important to see what you did wrong. So this table shows the number of people at a carnival at certain times during the day. What is the average number of people at the carnival between the hours of 2 and 7? So, this is your X. Oops, I need a pen. This is your X, and this is your Y. So 2 to 7, this is X1, 7 is X2, 20 is Y1, 40 is Y2. And then you do Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. So Y2 is 40 minus Y1, which is 20, over X2, which is 7, minus X1, which is 2. You simplify that, you get 20 over 5, which is 4 over 1. Find the average rate of change from X2 to X5. Now on this one, you can do one of two things. You can draw a triangle here and count. We would have Y over X, okay? Count how many units you went up on your y-axis, you went up 2, and how many units you went across on your x-axis, you went 3. Or you can use these 2 points as your y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 formula and find out the slope. State the x-intercept, y-intercept, and slope, and graph. A lot of you forgot to graph. But anyways, now we have learned about y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. So the number that's in m's place, which is the slope, is -2, and the number which is in b's spot is 5, which is the y-intercept. The y-intercept would technically be written 0, 5. And then to find the x-intercept, we would do f of x equals -2x plus 5. We would put 0 in for y, -2x plus 5, add 2x to both sides, and then divide by 2. So x-intercept is 5/2, 0, or 2.5, 0. And then you know that you can just mark your x-intercept and your y-intercept. So your y-intercept was 0, 5, which I believe is right there. And it's kind of hard to see what those numbers actually are. And your x-intercept is 2.5, 0. It's right where that little red mark is. And you connect the dots on those. And there you have your graph. This problem here is the exact same type of problem. We have y equals mx plus b. The number in the m spot is -1/3, so that's our slope, and our number in b spot is 6, so our y-intercept is 0, 6, and then we take f of x equals -1/3 x plus 6, and we put in 0 for y equals -1/3 x plus 6. We add 1/3 to both sides, so we have 1/3 x equals 6. And then we multiply by the reciprocal of 3 over 1. So x equals 18. And then we graph that. Now, 0, 6 for our y-intercepts right there. And then 18, 0, you had to extend your graph, which I don't know. Maybe a lot of you didn't graph this because you were like, oh, it's not on the graph. I realize my line doesn't go through the 2 dots, but it should. Brenda earns $9 an hour after her after-school job. The total amount of her paycheck varies directly with the amount of time she works. So we have y equals kx. 9 is our k, so we can write this as y equals 9x. Then, because there's no intercept for your y-intercept, it's 0, 0. And at 1 hour, she made $9. 2 hours, she made 18. And 3 hours, she made 27, and so on. Okay? Number 6, not many people got this right. We have to look at does not represent y equals kx. Now, y equals 1/3 x, that is written in the exact form, 1/3 is k. Y equals negative 2x, written in the exact form, negative 2 is k. Y equals 4x plus 1. Now, if you notice something about this equation, it does not have a y-intercept. The y-intercept is 0. This here has a y-intercept of 1, so this one is not written in direct variation. Now, a lot of you put d because you're like, you just looked at it. But if you solve d, you get subtract 6x from both sides, so you have negative y equals negative 6x. Divide by negative 1 to make y positive, and you have y equals 6x. So that is technically written in direct variation. You have to solve for y. One of the parts of direct variation is to solve for y first. Now on number 7, all you have to do is where the grid lines, where the graph of the line crosses the grid lines perfectly, so like right here, right here, right here, and right here. Those are four points that are on the line. We have negative 1, 2. We have negative 2, 0. So negative. We have negative 3, negative 2. And we have negative 4, negative 4. It didn't say explain or justify or anything like that. So you can simply look and say, oh, those 4 points actually are on the graph of the line. The next one says to use the graph to determine if the given points are solutions for the linear function y equals negative 2x minus 2. Explain why or why it is not a solution. Well, even on this one, you could do negative 3, 4, and 0, negative 1. Now, negative 3, 4, you can see that runs through the graph of the line if it was to continue. 0, negative 1 cannot be on the line at all. So you can explain that in words. Or you can use the equation y equals negative 2x minus 2 that they give you, and you can put 4 in for y equals negative 2 times negative 3 minus 2, and when you simplify that, you get 4 equals 4. That proves that negative 3, 4 falls on that line. And then you can do the same thing with 0, negative 1 to prove that it doesn't fall on that line. So you could take y equals negative 2x minus 2, and you can put negative 1 equals negative 2 times 0 minus 2, and when you simplify that, you can see that negative 1 does not equal negative 2. So you can either explain it in words or by substituting. A machine makes 300 fluid ounces of ice cream. Each serving is 12 ounces. The amount left after x servings is described by the function f of x equals 300 minus 12x. So, we have 0 and 1. When we put 0 in for the equation, we get 300, and when we put 1 in, we get 288. Now, I don't know why there's 3 columns, but it says you only had to do 2, so we're only going to do 2. Using the information from the table, calculate the slope. So, this is y1, y2, x1, x2. So we're going to take 288 minus 300 over 1 minus 0 equals negative 12 over 1. Okay, which you know is right because this right here is your slope and negative 12 is the number in front of it. What does the slope mean in the context of this problem? I'm not going to write this down, but it means that for every serving of ice cream they serve, 12 ounces of ice cream leaves the machine. The y-intercept. The y-intercept, you can look, it doesn't say using the information from the table to calculate anything like that. It just says find the y-intercept. 300 is the y-intercept, so 0, 300. If you're looking at that as in y equals mx plus b form. Or you could, if you needed to, if that didn't make sense to you, replace your x with 0, and when you simplify it, you get 300. Okay? The meaning of the y-intercept in the context of this problem is how full the ice cream machine is before you've served any ice cream. Okay, Scott picks an apartment. The following table shows how much he pays for a given number of months. So again, we have x1, x2, y1, y2. So we're going to find the slope. We have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. y2 is 10,500 minus y1 is 3,900 over 7 minus 3. And when we simplify that, we get, let's see, minus 4, that's 6,600 over 4. And when we divide that, I believe it's 1650 if I remember right, over 1. So the meaning of the slope is Scott pays $1,650 for every month that he lives in his apartment. The y-intercept is 0, 0. Because if Scott lives there for 0 months, he's going to pay $0. That is the meaning of the y-intercept in the context of that problem. And that's all.